Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the show, guys. If you are new here, I am your host, Monica, as always. And today we are going to unpack stories that make you question humanity just a little bit, and then side eye your surroundings and maybe hold your loved ones a little bit tighter or your phone a little less recklessly at 200 feet in the air. This week's episode is a mix of Are You Serious Right Now? And This Is Why I Don't Go Outside. So, we are kicking things off with segment one, which is very amusing. You'll get what I mean later. And I'm really using that term loosely because what starts as a conversation about amusement parks quickly turns into a reminder that thrill rides are doing the absolute most lately, from people dangling midair thanks to someone prioritizing content over common sense to a ride that quite literally snaps mid-flight. Yeah, we're going there. We're going over all of that. And then in segment two, we are going to slow things down a little bit. We are going to step into a case that will stay with you long after this episode ends. This one is called The Girl on the Bike. It is a 1972 case that starts as a normal summer day and spirals into decades of unanswered questions, missed opportunities, and finally a resolution that still somehow doesn't feel like justice. It's haunting, it's layered, and it's one of those stories that reminds you of how forensic science has come today and how much we lost before it got to that point. And then finally, we bring things home with our final segment, My Mom Moment, because after all, we need a little bit of a reality check. And by reality, I mean a giant toddler who refuses to eat meat. Also, celebrating birthdays over here because nothing says it's a beautiful, chaotic life like back to back parties with zero downtime. So, whether you are listening in your car, hiding from your kids in the pantry, or just here for storytelling, settle in. Let's get into it. All right, guys, I need everyone to mentally clock in for this one because we're about to take a little field trip to the place that sells itself on, like pure joy, but lately is giving more of like final destination energy than funnel cake fun. So, amusement parks, where the lines are long, the snacks are overpriced, and apparently safety is sometimes dangling by a thread, quite literally. So, picture this: it's a hot day in Texas, families, kids, sunscreen melting into your eyeballs, the usual. People are at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, trying to live their best lives as one would. And what screams, I trust this establishment with my life more than a swing ride that lifts you 200 feet into the air? You've stepped in, legs freely dangling, spinning gently. It's giving carefree, it's giving main character moment until it just stops midair. No warning. We're not descending at this point. Just like click, and now you're suspended hundreds of feet in the air above the ground like a decorative wind chime. And here's where I need you to really sit with this. There is no getting off. There is no like, excuse me, I need to exit this thing. You are simply up there. One rider described the feeling as being completely stuck, unable to move, waiting for help while suspended in the sky. And I don't know about you, but I don't even like being stuck in traffic, let alone floating above it. So naturally, your brain starts doing math here. How long have I been up here? Is this thing actually stable? Why did I skip leg day for this? And then comes the plot twist. There wasn't some mysterious mechanical failure at all. This wasn't a catastrophic breakdown. I mean, thank goodness. This was because someone somewhere on that ride decided the rules did not apply to them and pulled out their phone. Yes, a phone. According to park officials, the ride was intentionally stopped because a guest had their phone out, which is a safety violation. And I don't know, imagine being 200 feet in the air because Chad needed a better angle for his Snapchat. Imagine making eye contact with strangers mid panic, silently bonding over the shared realization that you are all just here because of a content creation. Eventually, the ride resumes. Everyone is brought down safely. No injuries reported. But emotionally, we're all a little indifferent now. I guess the story just doesn't make too much sense to me because everyone's got their phone all the time. I haven't been to an amusement park in a while, but are we just supposed to just put all of every personal belonging we have? I guess that does make sense because if you are swinging around and object falls from 200 feet in the air, it's going to hit the ground pretty hard. But yeah, way to go, Chad. So now let's leave Texas and hop over to Spain, where things go from deeply inconvenient to absolutely horrifying. We are sticking with the amusement park theme here today, guys. We are at Fiera de Abril. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong, but it's me. I say everything wrong, whatever. This is a vibrant, colorful festival. There is music, there is food, there is rides, like the whole experience. And one of those rides is the Steel Max Slingshot. I'm sure if you've been to an amusement park, you've seen this. I think we have one in Michigan, even at Michigan Adventures, which I don't even know if by the time you hear this, it's still going to be called Michigan Adventures because I heard it got bought out. But that is a different news story right there. Basically, a slingshot is like a cage, and you're connected to two bungees, and it just kind of flings you into the air like a slingshot. So, yeah, you're strapped into a capsule. You're launched into the air at a high speed. You reach heights of about 300 feet. It's, less ride and more human projectile experiment. So the ride launches. Everything is going as expected. Adrenaline screams, maybe some regret. And then in midair, a cable snaps. So it did not loosen or anything. It quite frankly just malfunctioned entirely. It snapped. The capsule is still carrying riders at this point. It loses stability and violently crashes back into the ride structure. This is terrifying, you guys. And then suddenly, it isn't a thrill seeking situation anymore. This is like survival. The videos from the scene show complete chaos. People are screaming, they are running, they are trying to process what they just witnessed. And it is terrifying. If you've seen this video, it is terrifying. You can see this video, just Google slingshot Spain and you'll find it. So 4 people were injured and 2 of those people were children, which makes this 100 times worse. So emergency responders rushed in. The ride was shut down immediately, and an investigation is obviously launched right then. And just like that, the energy completely shifts because this isn't a story about inconvenience. This is a story about how quickly things can go wrong when something critical fails. So here's what ties these 2 stories together and why we're still sitting in the same segment. Both involve people putting their trust into a system designed to keep them safe while doing something inherently risky. Both involve being hundreds of feet in the air, completely dependent on machinery, protocols, and decisions of the people around you. But the causes are very different. In Texas, it was human behavior, someone breaking a rule that exists for a reason. And in Spain, it was a mechanical failure, the kind that you hope never happens, but is always just known as a possibility to happen. And that's the uncomfortable truth of it all, because whether it's someone chasing a viral moment or a piece of equipment going out, you are still strapped in. You are still the one who is in the air. You are still the one who has to trust that everything and everyone is doing exactly what they are supposed to do. Listen, I love a good adrenaline rush, but I would also love to not become a headline. So maybe we keep our phones tucked away and trust the safety rules and remember that thrill rides are supposed to feel dangerous, not actually be dangerous. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm ever 200 feet in the air, I'd like the only thing dropping to be my stomach, not the ride. All right, guys. This next one, I watched this on HBO Max. It is called The Girl on the Bike. So let's just get into this one. It was wild. I can't say that I love cold cases, but I do enjoy the older cases that get to kind of come full circle because of science and technology. So we're just going to get into this one. It takes place in Bothell, Washington in 1972. This is a quiet, wooded, town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone and nothing is like really bad, or like nothing really bad is supposed to happen. Enter Jodie Loomis. She is 20 years old. She is vibrant. She is talented, the kind of girl who just like had things going for her. The type people describe as like full of life, which let's be honest, it's always that line that hits the hardest in hindsight. And our story starts on August 23rd, 1972. It is a normal day. Jody decides she is going to go ride her horse, Saudi. But first, she needs to like get to the stable. She needs to get like all her things together. She puts on her sister's boots. And these are not just any boots. These were something called waffle stompers. And they were named that for the distinct thread pattern that they leave behind. And yes, this detail does matter. It always matters, you guys. Her mom is doing what moms do, make sure that she has a dime to call and check in from the payphone near the stables because in the 70s, there was no iPhones, no location sharing, just, vibes and trust. For those who don't know what a payphone is, this was a box that contained a phone which you could call a landline from. So just a little history lesson there for you kids. So anyway, Jody wraps her horse's bridle around her bike and then she just like heads out. And just like that, she is gone. That is the last time anyone sees Jody before she is found. So a couple miles away, two people, their names are Walter Morris and Kathy Gogol. They are out in the woods doing some like target shooting. Totally normal for this area to do target shooting. They come across a path blocked by just like a huge log, and then they move the log, and what they find on the other side is a young woman, barely clothed but still alive. So in a panic, they're like, we need to do something. Again, no cell phones. So they rush her into their car. They're racing to the hospital, but this girl she doesn't make it. There was a single gunshot wound to the right side of her head, and she arrives to the hospital as a Jane Doe because at this point, there is no ID, just those unmistakable waffle stomper boots. So back home, the Loomis family is starting to panic. It's getting late. Jody hasn't come back. They call friends, they call hospitals, and finally the sheriff's office. They're asking for Jody, you guys. But at this point, Jody is a Jane Doe. So the knock comes on the door, which obviously is something that every family dreads. And at 1 a.m., Jody's father is at the hospital identifying his daughter. The autopsy reveals just horror. It's like a horror film. A 22 caliber bullet was fired downward, meaning she was likely below her attacker when the shot was fired. And then there was the confirmation of a sexual assault. Remember, this is 1972. DNA testing is not a thing yet. So that evidence, it's collected and essentially like put on ice for decades. So Investigators believe Jodie tried to get dressed after the assault happened. She managed to get one boot back on, her right one, before she was shot. That detail is very haunting. Police retrace her route and find a key witness, a young woman named Kenda Rice. Kenda remembers seeing Jodie ride by on her bicycle on the way to the stables. But what sticks with her is kind of more so what came next. A station wagon with two men inside, mid to late 20s, is driving in the same direction that Jodie went. And then about a half hour later, that very same car comes back down the road. So Kenda is obviously shaken after speaking to the police that her family packs up their farm stand and just like doesn't reopen it for the rest of the summer because, yeah, I wouldn't do that either. That is scary. Okay. It could have been Kenda. You know what I mean? Like, no, thank you. So, near the crime scene, police find Jodie's bike, her dime, and a men's red jacket that does not belong to her, obviously. Another neighbor, Ken Rice, also reports seeing both the station wagon and a motorcycle about the time that Jodie drove by. So now we've got multiple potential suspects, scattered sightings, and absolutely no clear answers at all. And in a small town, that means one thing: it literally could be anyone. So then things get even more unsettling. In 1974, an anonymous tip comes in involving a biker gang called the Reapers Roadmen. And this back then, I guess this gang was known for violence against women, which is really messed up to me. Like, why would you pride yourself on that? It's just, I don't understand people at all. So, one member acting as a police informant, he overhears like talk about the assault and murder of a girl on a 10-speed bike. They even had a 22 caliber weapon involved in another crime. But when police test this weapon from that other crime leading to the person that they were saying that it is not a match. So they're ruled out as a suspect. And then, because this case wasn't already chilling enough, enter Ted Bundy. Yep. That Ted. Okay. So he is active in the Pacific Northwest around the time that this happened. Women are going missing. And for a moment, investigators consider Jodie could have been one of his early victims. And they're really hitching on that lead, you know? But eventually he's ruled out. He was elsewhere when Jodie was killed. Still, the fact that he's even in the vicinity of the story, absolutely not comforting. But we still don't have our guy. Years pass and then decades passed and there is no arrest. There is no closure, but one person never lets it go. And that person is Kenda, the young woman from the farm stand. As she gets older, she keeps checking in with the police, especially because she carries like a really heavy suspicion it was her own father. Remember Ken, the witness that saw the station wagon and the motorcycle. So she later reveals that her own father had sexually abused her throughout her childhood. So now this case isn't just unsolved, it's kind of like tangled in trauma, fear, and unanswered questions that hit way too close to home for her. So let's fast forward to 2005. All these years, Kenda has no idea if her father was involved in this murder because, as soon as she turned 17, she like peaced out and was like, bye. So yeah, 2005, a cold case unit is finally formed, which is really cool, but I guess a little late. And this is where you think, okay, here comes the DNA breakthrough moment, right? Because the original semen samples that they collected, they're gone, you guys. They just vanished. There was no swabs, no evidence, nothing. And I'm sorry, but how does that happen? But investigators, they pivot, they start testing the rest of the items that were there, so they test the clothing, the boots, the pants, and the bra. And then finally, they get a break. They find semen on the right boot. So they develop a DNA profile and then they run it through CODIS, which is like a national database of like DNA, which also best idea ever, whoever did that. And then they get absolutely nothing from that. So that was kind of like a fail. But yeah, that sucks. So then they start manually like testing suspects that they originally had back in the 70s. So they had this like long list of suspects on there. And then one by one, including Ken Rice, who, by the way, is ruled out, they get down to every single last one, and every single known suspect is just completely eliminated until 2018, when investigators decide to try something new: genetic genealogy. Yes, like your ancestry websites. So they are uploading the DNA to a family tree database. And finally, you guys, they get a hit. It leads them to a family that has 6 sons, and one of them stands out. That man is named Terrence Miller. At this point, he is 77 years old, and his history is quite disturbing: allegations of sexual assault, not just for his daughters, but also his granddaughters. Like, so effed up. I hope you rot in hell, you piece of shit. But somehow he just like never made it into the CODIS system. So police do what they do best. They follow him. They wait for him to toss something: a coffee cup, a cigarette, literally anything. So then they track this guy down to some casino, and he's literally drinking a coffee cup. And bingo, he discards that coffee cup. They test it, and it's a match. After 46 years, they finally have their man. He is arrested, he is charged, and then he is released on a $750,000 bond to care for his elderly wife, who has also just suffered a stroke. The trial begins October 26, 2020, and in just 2 weeks, Terrence dies by suicide using, and I wish I was kidding, a 22 caliber gun. Unfortunately, this is not the same weapon, but still the irony is just, yeah, crazy. So here's where it gets more surreal. The judge allows the jury to deliberate without knowing he is dead. So they are mid-trial when he kills himself. So then they still read the verdict, and sure enough, it's guilty. Somehow that still doesn't feel like enough, because Jodie never got to ride her horse that day. Her horse Saudi waited for her. Her sister didn't ride again for years, not until she could share it with her own daughter, because I don't know, grief like that, it just doesn't disappear. It kind of just like reshapes everything. And yeah, that story, that one really got me. And it's sad that it took so long to solve, but I'm glad it did get solved. And, Terrence was a complete coward, and Jodie's family at least got some of the closure that they were looking for. I know it took forever, but I feel like everything kind of progresses the way it's supposed to, and it's just sad that they couldn't stop this guy sooner for the sake of his children and grandchildren at this point. So that was a tough watch, but we did it. We made it through, and thanks for sticking through that one. I had never heard of Jodie's story, and the fact that Ted Bundy got wrapped up in it was pretty crazy, but yeah. Let's just kind of shift gears and get on over to my mom moment. All right. right, welcome back, you guys. Can we talk about how my child is no longer a toddler, but a full grown skyscraper? I don't know what's in the water, the snacks, or, my genetics suddenly deciding to show off. But this kid is gigantic. It literally doesn't make any sense. I am 5'2". His dad is not tall. I just don't get it. He's literally gigantic. Like I blinked and somehow he's like eyeball level with the countertops. He's reaching things he absolutely should not be reaching and giving me a look like, I got it, mom. No, sir, you do not. Please step away from the glassware. And it's not just like the height, it's his vocabulary again. Like, excuse me, where are you learning these things? Like, even this morning, he was playing in his room. He closed the door and then he was going, knock, knock. He's learning so quickly. The words coming out of this tiny human are getting longer, clearer, and way more intentional. Like, he's not just talking anymore, he's making points, like, he's negotiating, he's explaining. He's also having tantrums and he's correcting me. And I'm just over here like, okay, love the confidence, hate the accuracy. Everything is yellow. Or red. He knows his words. We know our colors. We are down with our colors. He is really good at his alphabet. He is learning his words. And now let's get to the emotional roller coaster portion of this program, separation anxiety, but also make it confusing because there is no middle ground. Again, we are having big feelings. We are learning new words. And he is either needing to be physically attached to me, like I'm his life source again, or he is just sprinting in the opposite direction with zero regard for safety, gravity, or my blood pressure. So there is just no playing nicely nearby, no calm independence. It is either hold me, breathe near me, or don't even think about leaving this room. Or, catch me if you can, mother. Honestly, if I could fit him into my pocket, I would take him everywhere with me. Problem solved. No more chasing, no more negotiating, just, a portable toddler. But he weighs 500 pounds. So, not feasible. And then also, quick side rant on this. This child will not eat meat. None. I have tried everything. He has tried taco meat, but he's tried burger too. It's just like he's tried chicken, like he's tried it, but he just like refuses to eat any meat. Like zero, absolutely not. The chicken is offensive. The beef is must be disrespectful. Anything with protein that might actually keep him full for more than 12 minutes, he will reject it unless it's Greek yogurt. He loves Greek yogurt, but he will survive off snacks and vibes mostly. Yeah, he will. He'll be fine. And I'm just kind of like, okay, cool, dude. Love that for us. Should I start blending steak into your smoothies or what are we doing here? I still keep trying it. I know that I got to keep offering it. I get that. It's just frustrating. But before I spiral completely, we've got some big happy chaos happening over here because it is birthday weekend. We are going to shout out my partner in crime, my person, my love, Jameson. He is turning 43 years old. He is holding it down, putting up with me, and somehow keeping the household semi functional. We love to see that. And then right behind him is my niece, Genevieve. It's her birthday, and she is turning 4, you guys. That's so exciting. Like, when did that happen? I swear to God, she was just like born yesterday. I don't understand how this is happening so quickly. I mean, my son's going to be 2. Like, I swear time is speeding up. I think our timeline has fast forwarded, which is probably another podcast episode that I would love to discuss. But yes, it is a busy weekend. It is chaotic. It's loud. It's probably going to involve lots of sugar, a minimal sleep, and at least one minor meltdown, I'm assuming, tomorrow. I don't know. Mine, other kids, TBD. We'll figure it out. But honestly, it's exactly how we like it around here. So full house, full hearts, slightly unhinged energy, and somehow a very tall toddler who still somehow just wants his mommy. All right, guys, that is a wrap on today's episode. A true emotional roller coaster, much like the rides we probably won't be getting on anytime soon. So, we started off with amusement parks doing what they apparently do best lately, testing the limits of both engineering and human decision making. And if there is one takeaway from that segment, it's this: maybe just just maybe we keep the phones tucked away when we're suspended in the sky. Just I don't know, just a thought. And then we walk through the story of the girl on the bike, a story that reminds us of how quickly life can change, how long justice can take, and how even some answers do finally show up, and how even when answers finally come, we don't always get to bring peace. It's heavy, it's heartbreaking, and it's one of those cases that sticks with you for all the right and wrong reasons. And finally, we ended on a much lighter note: My Daily Life, starring a very tall toddler with strong opinions, selective eating habits, and a personality that just keeps me on my toes 24/7. At a packed birthday weekend, and honestly, it's chaos, but it's our chaos. So, if there is a common thread through all of this, it's this: life is unpredictable. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's terrifying, and sometimes it's just a kid refusing to eat meat while speaking better than you did at their age. As always, guys, thank you for being here, for listening, and letting me tell you these stories the way that they deserve to be told, with a little sass, a little heart, and enough sarcasm to just keep us sane. So, until next time, stay aware, stay cautious, and maybe keep your feet on the ground when possible. All right. I love you guys so much. Again, thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Okay. Love you. Bye. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The facts are fuzzy. Our stories and opinions are just that: stories and opinions, not meant to be taken as professional advice.